I'm Dan Robinson, Operational Manager here at Fayetteville Public Television, and I am here today doing an interview with Andrew Kilgore. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you, Dan. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. So we are celebrating an interesting anniversary in that 4 years ago we premiered a film called A Lens to the Soul, the photography of Andrew Kilgore.
With the very prestigious director.
Well, and so here we are 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very excited at the prospect of being able to bring you in and talk to you about what the last 4 years have held for you, and then what is happening moving forward as well. Just kind of give people an update as to what's going on with you.
Sure.
So tell us. So we premiered the film in 2014,
Right.
and then kind of at that point, what happened from there?
Well, you know, the last 4 years I've been pretty busy doing client work. One of the projects that I work on is something called Honor the Child. And what we do is find people who would like to bring their children in 2 or 3 times a year over a period of several years so that we can build up a portfolio of each child that shows their development over time. And we've been pretty busy doing that. And then just keeping up with almost 50 years of building a client base and photographing people for their family archives. And as much as I love doing large-scale work with stigmatized populations, the client work with people's families and kids is also deeply satisfying and I think much appreciated by the people that I do that for.
Absolutely. I know that people adore their Kilgore portraits and then being able to document their families. I'm curious, it's been fun as we've talked about this over these many years to talk about your technological advances and steps and evolution. So technologically, have you made any changes in the last 4 years?
Actually, I have. I've moved to I've moved to digital cameras about 10 years ago. About 2 years ago, I moved to a new mirrorless technology, which makes it possible for me to use a full-frame sensor on what we would have used to call a 35 millimeter frame, but without the mirror and the viewing system that works through prisms and lenses. The camera is only half as big and half as heavy.
Nice.
So with some of the physical issues that I deal with as a consequence of my age and some injury that I've had to my spinal cord, it makes it really nice for me to be able to have the same image resolution, but with a camera that's much smaller and lighter.
Nice.
So that's one of the cool things that I've been working with.
So you've been working on the Honor the Child project.
I have, yeah. We have several kids that we're photographing, and that primarily. At some point, I would love to exhibit the work that I've done of children over the years. I'm fascinated by children. I have a pretty serious kind of approach to photographing kids. I take the work that a 2-year-old's doing very seriously. I'm in awe of what very small children accomplish as they learn to just negotiate their way through this physical and social world that they live in. So I'm just fascinated by developmental issues around childhood, and the possibility of making photographs of small children that have a very deep and serious resonance to them, while still reflecting the beauty that we see in a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or an 8-year-old child.
Yeah. So when you're doing that, at what interval, if you're recording their development, at what interval do you tend to take those pictures?
I like to photograph them about every 4 or 5 months, 3 or 4 months.
All right, so a couple of times a year.
Right now, the latest addition to this project, we started this child when he was 1 month old, and the family are so excited about doing the work that they want. They basically want me to photograph the child once a month.
Wow.
So I've been photographing this little teeny kid, and it's just been a really a trip, because children from the age of 1 month to 6 months, the changes they go through are just really fascinating and beautiful, and just fun to look at.
Nice. So I know that at the time that we made the film, one of the things that was really important to you was documenting our underprivileged and marginalized neighbors.
I was going to bring that up, actually. Yeah, I'm still very much involved with the photographs. I haven't added very many new pictures to that collection in the last couple of years. But one of the things that I'm hoping to do as we move into the fall is to, there are two major pieces of work that I want to see if I can find some support for. One is to return to that work. A lot of the people who are in most need of help are people who have some degree of usually undiagnosed or at least untreated mental illness, associated usually with some kind of traumatic events in their childhood or when they were young adults. A lot of vets, of course, but also a lot of other people who've had things happen to them that make it very difficult for them to just be in much connection with other people. So when I go into the churches where they're being fed, often there'll be a room full of tables, and the tables will hold 6 to 8 people, but you'll see half of the tables only have one person sitting at them because they just can't really tolerate being close to other people. So I would really love to be. I've photographed a lot, over 300 people in that population here in Fayetteville, but I would love to get the support to be able to go to some other communities in Arkansas or even nationally to photograph people in that population in places in America, but quite distant from here, and to build a larger portfolio of those images and maybe see if I can find some ways to get some, to enter into the national conversation about what we're going to do for people who are so disadvantaged by birth or by circumstances that they just can't find a place in our normal society of work and home and family, you know, that they find themselves basically living out on the street or in very marginalized kinds of shelter.
Yeah. So in some ways here in Fayetteville, since that's happened, we've seen some positive impacts.
We have.
When it comes to things like free little pantries didn't exist,
Yeah.
and resources
But
like
these
that.
imagine if you had to live with your source of food being a free pantry.
Right.
I mean, this is putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Totally. And then they recently cleared out the homeless camp.
Yeah.
And so now we're kind of back in this
and we haven't seen a serious reduction in that population. But you know, my interest is so visceral and so visual, and I'm horrible. And of course, I also have aging brain syndrome. So I'm not good with the numbers and the statistics and the politics of it. But
Right.
I'm very much involved in the sitting down with someone, but someone who's been living on the street for a while, and just finding a way to present that person to the mainstream population in a way that's moving and hopefully will elicit a more respectful as well as helpful and kind response.
So that style of advocacy photography, I would say, is something that is.
I love it, and if I had the resources, I would probably devote most of my work energy to doing that kind of photography. But as I've aged, it's just a lot harder to pursue the kinds of support, monetary support that it takes to do that work.
Sure.
I call it third-party work because when I'm photographing somebody and they don't have any part of the financing of the photographing, they're just there to present themselves.
Right.
And some third party is actually paying for the work to be done. That creates a much freer kind of atmosphere, and it creates a resonance in the pictures because they're not trying to look good. They don't care whether they look good for the most part.
They're just being honest.
They're just there.
Yeah.
They're just being honest. Yeah.
So it's in connecting audiences with those collections, and the library has a wonderful collection of those photographs, a
Right.
combination of
Right.
advocacy photographs and then historical archival photographs.
Right.
Those are going to be on display at Stage 18
Yeah.
for the month of October.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that.
Here in 2018.
And I have another project that I'm hoping that we might be able to get together. And I realize I'm asking you for help on television.
Hey, that works.
But I would really like to put together a slide presentation of those photographs that we could maybe put on YouTube or make available on social media.
Absolutely, because
So we've
it's-
talked about that a couple times before, but I'm ready to do it. I've been working on it. I'm ready to
great.
do it. So
Okay.
if we could get that together during this period when we have work up at the gallery, that'd be way cool.
Absolutely. Pretty much the unanimous consensus of people who watch the film, who are able to experience those photographs, those advocacy photographs, talk about it impacting them on a soul level.
Exactly.
They're able to connect with someone who otherwise they would not connect with. It humanizes the people who otherwise we seem to dehumanize, even if
Right.
we don't mean to, just in our practice and in our society, we kind of dehumanize them. So I would really encourage people to visit this exhibit, and then it would be great to put that slideshow on YouTube so that
Yeah.
people get the opportunity
Yeah,
to
and- yeah.
meet these interesting people who are still very much in our community.
And,
We still see
yeah.
those faces. I still
Yeah.
see those faces. 4
Yeah.
years later, I'll see people that you documented 4 years ago that we have been advocating, and it's just an ongoing struggle
Yeah.
to try to advocate these people, to try to resource these people, to get people
And,
involved.
the problem that that occurs over and over again is that often the people who are highly motivated to be helpful have a difficult time understanding from the perspective of the person who needs help what help would mean for that person.
Right.
Often a person who's suffering from various levels of paranoia, when someone offers them help, it's easy for them to interpret that not as an offer of help, but as an attack, even
Right.
as an intrusion.
Yep.
So even in the worst of weather, there are people who, if faced with bunking down in a dorm situation in a shelter with a bunch of other people, or sleeping by themselves outside in the rain or the snow, will actually opt for the bad weather because they just can't tolerate being in a room full of other people.
Yep. That makes sense.
And so when it comes to finding ways to offer people real shelter and real services, to do that in a way that they can tolerate and that works for them from what they're bringing to the exchange, that's the real challenge, and it's not easy. But there are people who are working to provide services for people who understand this dynamic and are struggling to find ways to make those helping situations be more effective from the perspective of the person who's being helped.
Nice. That's a wonderful thing. So important. So if people want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they find out more information?
Well, I have a web page,
Okay.
Andrew Kilgore. Google it.
Okay.
I show up, and for a long time, I don't know whether it's still true or not because I don't Google myself very often, but two people would show up if you Googled Andrew Kilgore, me and a very successful high school basketball player in Kansas. I think
Well,
you can tell the
I
difference
was going to
between the
say
two
that
of
we
us.
shouldn't
Yeah,
have a
it
problem
shouldn't be
distinguishing the
too
two. But,
confusing.
so going to your website, people can find out about having portraits done by you, about
Yeah,
supporting
and
projects.
more important, they can find basic contact information, email address. I like for people who want to have a photograph made or who just want to know more about the work that I'm doing, to access me first through email works really well.
Wonderful. Okay.
But the other thing that I'm really excited about trying to see happen, 2 years from now, I will have been photographing Arkansas people for 50 years.
Wow.
So one of the things that I would really love to do is to find a venue that would support a really in-depth retrospective exhibit of all the different kinds of work that I've done with all the different kinds of populations that I've photographed in Arkansas over the last 50 years. I think that would be way cool.
I think so
I have
too.
every negative I ever shot, every digital file I ever shot. It's all there. So there's this huge portfolio of images that kind of reflect all the different kinds of people who've lived in Arkansas for over a 50-year period.
That's
I think
amazing.
it would be a way cool thing to do.
I think so too.
So if somebody would just come forward with a couple $100,000, we'll do it.
There you go. We can try to get some support behind that. And we certainly appreciate all the work that you have done and the documenting that you have done of people and telling people's stories and advocating those who need advocacy. So it's been amazing, and it's going to be great to see you continue to do this work. And we want to encourage people to go to Stage 18 during the month of October in 2018. We're going to have photographs available for people to see Andrew's work and connect with those people.
And I'd also like to just throw in kind of some applause for public access television and the work that you do here and the work that all the volunteers that are out there behind the cameras do here. It's a really wonderful facility, and I'm real proud to have it going on here in my hometown.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Andrew. It's great talking to you.
Good to talk to you. Thank you, my friend.
You bet.